Mr. President, at some point during the course of this debate on the National Defense Authorization Act, the Senate may have an opportunity to vote on a McCain amendment authorizing a base closing and realignment round. I have the utmost respect, as members know, for the chairman of our committee, and I hold him in high regard. But I will certainly be voting against the McCain amendment because I do not believe authorizing a base closing and realignment round at this particular time is in the best interest of the United States or the interest of the security of Americans. And I do that for two reasons, Mr. President. Number one, whether you agree or not that base closings are a savings in the long run, almost everyone will agree that in the short term, a base closing round costs money. And so it would be costly in the next fiscal year and in the fiscal year after that to have a base closing round. This is the very time when we don't need an additional expense because we're dealing with the readiness problem that we have in our various branches right now. As chairman of the Sea Power Subcommittee, I can tell you that we have readiness problems with our fleet. We have readiness problems in the Marine Corps. Those services that I have a particular interest in my subcommittee. We need that money for readiness, and we need it in this fiscal year and in the next fiscal year. So for the cost, for the reason of the short-term cost that BRAC would cause us to incur, I would urge my colleagues to vote no on the McCain amendment. And then further, it is my understanding that the wording of this particular amendment takes away the commission part of a base closing and realignment round. And if you do believe that we ought to move toward this concept, which I do not believe we should do at this point, but if you do believe that, then we ought to at least have the independence that a commission gives to the process. It's the sort of process that we've had time and again when we've had a BRAC round. It's what we had the last time the United States Congress faced a base closing and realignment round. So for those two reasons, I would submit to my colleagues that a no vote is called for. This is something that we may need to discuss in 2020. It may be something that we need to do later on, and I will be open to suggestion about that. But when we have a readiness crisis facing the United States security at this moment, this is no time to be taking money away from those immediate needs. And so for that reason, I will be voting no on that McCain amendment and urge my colleagues to do the same. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor and suggest the absence of a quorum.